Hey guys, what's up here? Shane from Team COG, and I'm bringing you guys my budget version of my Chaos Magician Ritual build. Again, I want to reiterate that this deck profile, it is intended to bring the Chaos Magician into the Dark Magician deck profile. It is not intended to make the Chaos Magician his own deck. So, saying that, the deck will run more like a Dark Magician deck. It just has some cards in it that helps you bring out the Dark Magician of Chaos, or the Magician of Chaos. And I think he really helps the deck function. He really provides some turn one advantage, and he just makes the deck a lot more aggressive when you need it to be. Sometimes when you don't need it to be, but it's really a very strong card to add into the deck profile, and I've really enjoyed playing with it. The test hands are always really great. I do brick because it's Dark Magicians, it bricks. So it will brick on you. Don't expect it to be a perfect deck, but for what it does it well. I've changed a few things up. You guys can go see my Pot of Extravagance build. That's the non-budget version. There's not really much anything different in there except for there's a few ratio changes, and it includes the Pot of Extravagance and Ash Blossoms I had to cut from this profile because you needed the room for the draw engines. You couldn't afford to draw into an Ash Blossom because you need to be able to draw into your combo pieces. So you can't afford the ashes because you don't have the extravagances in the profile. But the deck is really still consistent, and it can still do the Dark Magician stuff. And it's really fun to play because of all the crazy stuff you can do with a good hand. So let's get into it. We'll start with monsters like usual. So of course you've got the 3 Dark Magician. I don't think this will ever change for a Dark Magician deck. Dark Magician is way too important for the deck. It can't function without Dark Magician. So I got my 3 favorite artworks at the moment. I don't know how I feel about this one. That's why I'm kind of playing with it. It's cool, but it's not. I said earlier it was my favorite, but I'm playing with it to see if it's my favorite. It's cool, but it's not that impressive to me. I think it looks a little weird if I look at it the wrong way. It looks a little ripped for Dark Magician. So you got 3 Dark Magician, and then you move on. I cut the count from Magician of Chaos down to 2 for this build. I did bump up the pre-preparation of rites because searching it's a lot more important with that card. And if you open that card and or this card, but I see being able to deck thin as a more prominent idea. Having 2 in the build really seems to pay off. You don't end up hard drawing it when you don't have any way to search the rituals, so you don't run into the similar events, and the spells can be banished with Dark Magic Inheritance, so it's just a little bit better to play 2 in my opinion. But that's just for this build. I still stand by 3 for extravagance builds. So, Apprentice of Illusion Magic. Apprentice Illusion Magic. Sorry guys, it's been a long day. Apprentice Illusion Magician. You discard a card and special summon her. It's really fun to interact with because you can discard a ritual and activate pre-prep and add the ritual back from grave. It's a good quick +1. You don't lose anything in that situation, so that helps. You can send the Magician of Chaos from your hand and then add it back with Illusion Magic. There's just a lot of interaction with getting stuff back from the grave that you discard with her. You can set up your Magician Navigation by discarding it off of her to search the Dark Magician. There's just a lot of stuff you can do with the Apprentice Illusion Magician, and it really gets you to the Dark Magician quicker. And you really do need to see the Dark Magician in your hand as quick as possible. Or you can Foolish Burial it with Advanced Ritual Art. Moving on, you've got 3 Magician's Rods. Of course, he's going to be played at 3. He's your main searcher for your spell and traps. Opening him in a hand is always good, unless you open multiples, but still, even then. Search circle, if you don't have circle, pretty much should be his text. But you can search anything that lists Dark Magician in the name, meaning you can search the Chaos form. I did bump up the Chaos form in this build to 2, and I took Advanced Ritual Art down to 1, or down to 2, down 1 to 2, because he can search the Chaos form, but if you banish 1 off Desires, you still got another one. So, yeah. Moving on. You've got the 1 Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. I wasn't playing this in the Extravagance build because, again, this is the budget version, and you couldn't draw with Extravagance after you activate Extravagance, so you don't want to end up in the situation where you have a draw engine in your hand plus like Extravagance. So you can't really do much with him with Extravagance. So you cut that from the Extravagance build, but you don't from this one. Just adding draw engines really helps you be able to play more budget. Spellbook of Knowledge just got reprinted too, so. Dark Magical Circle. Of course, you're playing 3 of this. It's what your main search off of Rod is. If you hard draw it, it's just great. It'll excavate the top 3, add a Dark Magician or Dark Magician spell or trap from the deck to hand, or from those top 3 to hand, which is fucking busted. Your main offensive card as well. This spells a quick interruption, but you've got to play it right. If your opponent activates something to summon something, you've got to chain your summon card to it, or else this isn't going to activate in time to do what you want it to. So you've got to remember that it won't activate until after the Dark Magician's summon. So that means an entire chain has to resolve before this will activate. So you've got to be able to acknowledge that and kind of plan ahead a little bit. So you've got the 3 circle. And then I'm playing 2 Chaos form in this build. Chaos form's good, but the fact that it relies on an even number, even level, it has to be the exactly 7. So it doesn't really do a lot of good sometimes, but being able to banish the Dark Magician from your grave can come in clutch. You can also banish a Magician of Chaos from the grave because it's Dark Magician in the grave. So even if you discarded the Magician of Chaos off of Apprentice, even though you can't reborn it with Eternal Soul, you can still banish it with Chaos form or add it back with Illusion Magic. So that's good. I'm not bumping up the count of Eye of Timaeus, even though you're playing Pot of Desires instead of Extravagance. Timaeus is still just kind of a lockout card, and you don't want to see him in every hand because he can brick. If he was searchable, that'd be great, but we all know he's not because he lists. I had somebody actually ask me this in one of the previous profiles, but it says target 1 Dark Magician monster you control, and unfortunately, since that text is read the way it is, it's not considered stating an exact it's not considered to be stating Dark Magician specifically. So because of that, you can't search it, and I know, I get it, it's dumb, but that's the way it's ruled, and that's the way you have to play it. Then, unless Konami comes out and is like, hey, you can search it, but they're not going to. So, Dark Magic Attack, I'm still playing this because it's just really good against some more rogue decks like Sky Striker and Altergeist, so it's really good still. And then it'll also trigger your Magician of Chaos. And then then we've still got a few more one-ofs. Illusion Magic, Tribute to Spellcaster, add 2 Dark Magicians to hand from deck or grave. This helps a lot when you have a Magician of Chaos in your grave and you have like a ritual or something. You can add it back. Adding Dark Magicians from graveyard to hand, really good too. But really good search card. but definitely not more than one. Dark Magic Inheritance. Inheritance is a banish 2 spells, search any spell or trap, and it's also extremely good. You can search anything with Dark Magician Girl in the text too, so also it can come in handy for later matches, or later deck builds, I mean. So stay in tune for that. If you guys want to see a Dark Magician Girl deck profile, let me know. If you would prefer to see it with the ritual or without the ritual, also let me know. So moving on from the Dark Magic Inheritance, this isn't necessarily a Dark Magician card, but it should be. It's Dark Magic Veil. Special, pay 1,000 life points, special summon a dark spellcaster monster from your hand or graveyard. It allows you to special back Dark Magician from your hand if you have Aya Timaeus. Really niche hands can be kind of fixed with this, but it also allows you to reborn in case your Eternal Soul gets hit or you didn't open Eternal Soul. You can bring back like a Magician of Chaos that got killed, or a Dark Magician, but it's really good. It's kind of a niche card though. You can play it or not play it. That just depends on your preference. I'm playing 3 Preparation of Rites now. Because of the interaction with Apprentice, you just have a lot of fun discarding like the ritual spells and then just adding them back after you search, so you don't really neg, and that just makes things a lot better. I just think that being able to deck thin with the deck right now with Pot of Desires is pretty important. Yeah. Also, if you open this Advanced Ritual Art and a Magician of Chaos, it's pretty busted. So if you guys want to see some combo videos, I've been finding a few combo videos that are pretty cool. Let me know about that in the description below as well. Then we got 2 copies of Advanced Ritual Art. I find it as the best starter spell if you open Preparation of Rites, or Preparation of Rites, or the Magician of Chaos. If you open either of those with this, it's just the best starter for your ritual side of the deck at least. Moving on from that, you got 2 Called by the Grave. If you want to cut like the Dark Magic Veil and up this to 3, I think that would be well within your rights to do. It's a great card and it really helps you continue your plays. I just don't want to dedicate the space to it. And then moving on, this is more of a choice. I battled between this is Pot of Desires, of course, and Allure of Darkness at the same ratios. The problem I was running into with Allure of Darkness was I would set up and then the Allure would be the last thing in my hand, and just because you can activate multiple doesn't really help you. Allure would be the only thing in my hand, and I'd be trying to get to a card, and I'd activate Allure of Darkness, and I'd draw exactly what I needed, which would usually be a Magician of Chaos, but I don't have any other darks to banish from my hand, so I would just have to banish the Magician of Chaos. So there was almost no point in activating the spell in the first place, because I just drew into something that didn't help me, and I had to get rid of the only other thing that would. So in the end, I decided to go with Pot of Desires. If you would prefer to go with Allure of Darkness, I don't blame you. Having to banish 10 from the top of your deck is kind of a scary thing to some people, but the immediate +2 is very beneficial in the long run. It's just, you gotta make sure you do all your searching first. Activate Pot of Desires last if you have the option. So that's what I'm playing there. You can play Allure of Darkness at the same ratio if you want. And then Spellbook of Knowledge at 2, and then 1 Spellbook of Secrets. This goes with your Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, and in your extra deck it also goes with your Crowley, the First Prophesier. This is a great card in case you didn't open any of the Spellbook cards, because it'll allow you to pick out any of these. Unfortunately, unless you open 2 Apprentice Illusion Magicians, you don't want to get this one. Because if your opponent's picking randomly, you want to either get the Spellbook of Secrets or the Spellbook of Knowledge. Because you're most likely making it with Apprentice Illusion and a Rod. So if you're doing that, you don't want them to be able to hand you the Magician of Prophecy. But sometimes it's going to happen, and you've just kind of got to deal with that. And then if you have, unless, of course, Spellbook of Knowledge is in your hand already, in which case you're just golden. But a lot of the times you won't need to go into Crowley. You'll just see it in your first hand, because 4 out of 40 is a 10% chance of getting this. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but drawing into a part of this engine isn't that hard. You're not going to do it every game, of course, but it's not that hard to see. And that's the end of the spells, I do believe. Moving on, we've got our trap card lineup. So traps are not real significant. I am not running any floodgates or anything. It's because the interruptions from Circle and Magician of Chaos are really what you're trying to get to. But triple Magician of Navigation summons an Apprentice and Dark Magician, or 2 Dark Magicians. You have to have a Dark Magician in hand though, which kind of hurts, but if you play your cards right, you can usually get one in hand. And then Eternal Soul. This is your heart and soul of the deck, obviously. That's why they named it that, duh. But no, this is a really great card because it's just instant recursion. You can summon most of the cards. Most of your power plays are done using Eternal Soul. You want to try and get to Eternal Soul over Navigation, because with the ability to use Advanced Ritual Art to send the Dark Magician to grave, or when the Chaos Magician's destroyed and sent to the grave, being able to reborn it with the Eternal Soul is just way too valuable. The Eternal Soul just starts all your interruptions and stuff. So Magician's Navigation isn't much worse, but it's better to have engrave, if you believe me. The fact that you can banish it and then negate a spell or trap on the field is pretty ridiculous, and it will come up a lot more often than you think, and you got to make sure you don't forget it when those chances arise, because that will happen. And then finally we've got our extra deck. Hope it's 15. Yeah. Sorry guys, I've been trying to work on a lot of decks right now, and a lot of extra cards switch between the same profiles. So we've got 2 Magician, Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight. A lot of these didn't change very much from the last build. There's a few differences, but nothing really ridiculous worth changing from the Pot of Extravagance build. But I'll go over it still, because there's a few of you who probably didn't see that build first. So Dark Paladin at 1. It's crazy when you can see against a Guard Dragon player, if you manage to wipe their board or something like that. And then it also negate a spell by discarding a card, which is cool. Dark Cavalry, fusion with the Dark Magician and a Warrior type monster. And then it gains attack, but more importantly, it can discard a card and negate a card that targets. So that's pretty cool. Super Poly I'm running Super Poly in the side deck. You're only playing it at 1 though. But even so, if you're playing against like Goki, or if you're playing against Buster Blader guy at your locals, or if you're playing against the Crusading Guard Dragon or another dragon deck, you can use the Super Poly to summon pretty much all of these out. Amulet Dragon, another thing you can summon out with Super Poly if you've already somehow used the other 2. I just love the card. I think it's really cool. Quintet Magician, another card. Somebody asked me why I was playing with this, and I guess I didn't really go into extent last deck profile, but It's a very interesting card, and before this fusion spell comes out, you can also play it against like the Pendulum Magician matchup with the Super Poly, But another thing is the Endymions are coming out at the end of this month, which, by the way, if you guys want a deck profile on that, comment below if you'd like to see that. I think I might try and build that, but you guys let me know if you'd like to see it or not. But going on with the Quintet, they put a lot of magicians on board, and being able to activate a spell that can't be responded to and then fusion a lot of them off is really good. So, Ebon Illusion Magician, if you wanted to cut the Quintet for another copy of this, more power to you. I don't really have another copy or find a necessity to get another copy. So, Ebon High Magician, pretty niche card. He allows you to activate a quick way spell or trap from your hand by discarding a card, detaching a material, which is really kind of cool. You don't really play him much though, unfortunately. Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon, really beautiful card, really good effect, and the fact that he can't be destroyed by card effects really helps. Going into this after you've kind of overextended your field with Dark Magicians is really good. It kind of helps prevent your full board wipe from Eternal Soul, so that's good. We got number 11, Steal Your Shit, Big Eye. He's really good. Just steal your opponent's card. He's not as good as he used to be, but still pretty good. And then for our only rank 6, we've got one Naruto, the Moral Leader. Couldn't find my secret, so I had to pull this out. But also a really good card. You can rank up into the Ebon Illusion Magician. Ebon Illusion Magician. Using this, you just put him on top and doesn't require anything. But too bad we don't have Magi Girl. Would really appreciate that right about now, Konami. But gotta do with what we gotta do. Hold up, I just dropped a beat. Get it? Sorry, I just let the beat drop. We got one Beat Cop from the Underworld. It's really decent card. She can allow you to get your Dark Magicians back in the graveyard in order to set up your Eternal Soul again, and it also, you can put beat counters on her and Eternal Soul after a bit. You'll probably want to put them on Eternal Soul or Circle first, because she can protect those. But after a bit, if you have the ability to keep tributing off, we would put one on her as well, because she's pretty fragile with 1,000 attack. And moving on, we've got one Crowley, the First Prophesier. I already went over why you play him. It's for the Spellbook engine. He's also a good 2 spellcasters linked 2 monster, so if you have monsters you need to take off the field, he's always a good option to go into. Not as good as this. Wee Witch's Apprentice. She'll boost all your monsters by 500 attack because you're only playing dark monsters, except for Magician of Prophecy, which is only 500 to begin with. But if you're doing a beatdown with him, I mean, more power to you. I don't think it's going to really hurt you much. But she's also good because she can be destroyed by your opponent's card effects or battle, and then she's just going to float a dark to your hand. So she's a really good way to recur, or at least protect yourself from being completely out-resourced by your opponent. And then we got one Summon Sorceress because of the situations that can arise. You're playing mostly spellcasters, and a lot of your Link 2s are spellcasters. So the situation can arise where Summon Sorceress can come in handy during a more late game. She's not exactly a combo extender like in other decks, but she is a very good card. Playing her at 1's not too bad of an idea. She is a pretty easy card to cut out of the extra deck if you need to put in another card, something like Link, Spider, or something like that. But that's been the whole deck profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this more budget version. Not very much changed, really. A few ratios and some draw engines. But other than that, you guys let me know if you want to see the Dark Magician Girl. If you want to see like the rituals with the Dark Magician Girl. what you guys want to see from the Dark Magician deck, just in general. Make sure to comment below, like the video if you really enjoyed it. And then lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to the team champions of Game Time is doing pretty cool, but that's not who I'd like to shout out. I'd like to shout out Game Time's Cards and Collectibles as being our sponsor. They've been really cool, and they did help me get most of my dual power stuff. So, without further ado, guys, this has been Shane from Team COG, signing out. See you in the future.